All right, we're rocking. Hello, everybody. Right there. Boom. All right, Brandon, when it's time, you can hit me with that one. All right, Jesus class number 4. We'll say our prayers here first. So, just a little quick ditty that we figured out this week, just studying the Torah of Daniel, and Daniel's so a close aid with Joseph. He was second only to Nebuchadnezzar. Joseph, second only to Pharaoh and stuff like that. But there is a formula that Rav Vali says that exists in Torah. When holiness is next to the head of the klipa, that nation blossoms, and nothing can happen. Nothing bad comes to it. Okay, so who's the king of all Goyim right now? Trump. Who's his advisor?
Pastor Arenas over there at
No. His real advisor, Kushner, and his daughter is a Jew. That's the guy that's second to the king. He has his ear, his son-in-law. You see what I'm saying? That's why no matter what happens, it's no matter what Pharaoh did, Joseph.
It's who he's connected to. There's no telling what rabbi, what inner circle.
Yes, it has nothing to do with Trump. Trump represents the king of Esau, like the king of Babylon, the king of Egypt. That person, all right. So, like when we had Obama, he had his Jew too, was Rahm Emanuel, but he's the backside. He's anti-Israel. He's anti-this. So what's the biggest thing Trump does? Moves the capital to Jerusalem. You see why? It's Kushner deal. It's Kushner move. You see. So once he made that coordinate, he established that holiness sits beside him. Has nothing to do with him. It has to do with what sits beside him. It is the Daniel program. It is the Mashiach program running. That's why it doesn't matter what the left does. Nothing can happen to him because it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with holiness that sits next to him. Same thing with Pharaoh. Same thing. This is the iteration happening. All right. It's phenomenal the way it's working. So let's get to going here. Today we get to study Torah for the sake of heaven, for the sake of Israel and all Jerusalem. And we'd like to use the merit of Ari Full. We'd like to give our Torah to Stephen King, Avraham ben Moshe Gilla, Jason Shelton, Linda Flora, Hannah and Samantha Hung, Shane Maitland, Raymond Rosentrader, David Fay, Paul Navarez, Garrett Matledge, Stacy Matledge, the Patients of Texas Oncology, Rita Wilson, Betty Munkuski, Lola, daughter of Justin, Lakeisha Neal, Berea Wanstaff, Sylvia Arvizu, Nadine Freeman, Albert Bear, Billy Hope, Luke Sutherland, Noel Cardoza, David Douglas, Leanne Plemons and Fam, Tom and Karen Maitland, Carol Tickle, Larry Langberg, Gillette Navarez, Leela Briscoe, Sam Peak, Yehuda Haibin, Matai Leah, Davis Jenkins, Jake Suarez, Jimmy and Joyce Rogers, Solly Talamontes, Rogers family, Holly Ward, Damian Washington, Carol Scott and family, Rabbi Richmond Maurice Greenwood, Gracie Bellinder, Brett Richardson, Brandy Boots, Amanda Elliott, Carol's family, Baby Denard, Michelle Magnuson, Jenna Marie, Kimberly Brown, Debbie January, Sandra Hirth, Jerry Matledge, Dylan Tickle, Amber Merchant, Terry Thomas, Celinda Sheffields, Louis Gutierrez and family, Aaron Price, Jazari Carroll, Dakota Miller, Lindsay Welch, Benson Ewing, Casey Grubb, Darlene Youts, Debbie Henson, Anita Jones, Jessica Ross, Rachel Jones. It's the Messiah. Thank you. Rachel James, Carrie Knight, Salvador Gutierrez and family, Phoebe Bridges, Elliot Matledge, Mark Matledge, Max Wagner, son of Marcy Wagner, Emily Bot-Tova, Jackie Cup, Naeem Bot Miriam, Chad Jefferson, Carla Manzanares, Beth Carmen, Alton Tillman, Elvia Rosas, Brian McComas, John Scott, Jerry Gregory, Sarah Bot Sarah, Sherry Mayer, Dakota Miller, and Shelby Williams. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God, and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, that you enable us to take parts in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, and they should not bring separation between you and us. May it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awake and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed heart to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor as an aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants to which you revealed your wisdom to the world shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah. Because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterance of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. All right. Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Class 4, here we go. Avion Gilion. This is the Hebrew that's translated in Greek. Evangelica. These are the sin papers, the deceptive papers. The iteration is the Erev Ra from the time of the golden calf. Now, I studied a piece of Talmud today on prayer, and how Moses got God to forgive them in prayer for the golden calf. Part of that comes from this word where Moses was flinging, like plastering his words on God. Basically, he got God in a box. Okay? And there's this word here called, the scholars of the Academy of Rav Yanini says it can be derived from here. The scripture states, and dai zahav. Well, zahav, there's no place called dai zahav. Mm-hmm. All right? But zahav means gold. And dai means enough. Like dainu, enough. All right? And so what did Moshe do? He said, God, you gave them too much gold. What did you expect them to do? What are you going to do with all that wealth? Are you going to build a golden calf? See? And it goes on, and it likens to this. It likens to a king who had a son, and he bathed him, anointed him with oil, and fed him, and gave him things to drink, hung a purse around his neck, and set him at the entrance of prostitutes. What are you going to do? So, the whole thing here is Moses had God in a box saying, look, had you not given them the gold, they couldn't have made a golden calf. Right? Mm-hmm. So, he turned the loop. He turned the end to the beginning. You see? He pulled him through the knot. What they're saying here, what Ravali is saying here is, this is the same knot that has pulled itself back through. So what's God given him? He gave him the gold. He's given him Yeshu. He's given him a God to go before them. It's the same thing. Because they need that. Because they don't have the capacity to have a relationship with God without some 3D thing, image. So it says this is the iteration of the Erev Ra from the time of the golden calf, and it had resurfaced at the time of the second temple. This is all a part of ancient Egypt. Don't think it's new. Okay? The whole Jesus thing at the time of the second temple is just the iteration that is happening from Egypt. Same story. Just playing over. Hiblab shoot. Light overlaps. Okay? Histalshalut. Things keep coming down. We're going to get a word in a minute called Navel that means that this kind of trickles down. It decreases or withers. Okay? Now, this is a part of the ancient Egypt. The 4 books are the 4 faces of the Merkava, the chariots. So they have to have their side in order to remove them completely from Kedusha, from the holiness. As the original Erev Rav said, raise up and make us a god to go before us. Likewise, at the second temple, they were given Yeshu HaNotzri. Yet they were still keeping the Sabbath, circumcision, and not eating blood, as you see in Acts chapter 15, verse 21. All right? Mm-hmm. They're supposed to go learn the Torah of Moshe on Shabbat. So what he's saying here is when during this time that he's given Yeshu to Israel to drag the Erev Ra out of Israel, and they're clinging to them, they're still Jews. There's no Goyim living in there. Okay? They're still Jews. And they're still doing Shabbat, and they're still doing this. And so it's a problem. It's a huge problem. And Hashem saw that this would be a great stumbling block to Israel, and that they would be mixed up and follow him. These are the first Messianics. They're going to have all their Yeshu and all their Torah too. And it's the biggest stumbling block to Israel on the earth. Because if a Jew sees a Messianic mimicking them, they may think it's okay to eat in that restaurant. They may think it's okay to do that. They may think it's okay to do this or that or blah, 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 blah. And it will cause a real Jew to do Tumah, or to not be in Tikkun, to not be in Kedusha. It's a stumbling block. This is why the worst thing in the world is a Messianic. They're worse than anything to Israel. This was against his will. And in the future, when the exile and in poverty, the Erev Ra must be removed. Therefore, he placed in their hearts to form priests and leaders of Esau and established Rome. See what God's doing? He's making sure that they are going to quit acting like Jews. Looking like Jews, doing Jewish things.
Yeah.
That they would now change their doctrine as well as the non-Jews would change their doctrine. These are the first Messianics. This was a great danger for the future of the Jewish people. Hashem directed the priests and leaders to do away with the mitzvahs. First thing he did, to do away with the mitzvahs. All right? The Old Testament is done away with, guys. You don't have to do none of that. The Old Testament is done away with. We're in the New Testament now. That's the first thing God is directing the priests and leaders of the other side. We're going to call that the Catholic Church, which made every other church that everybody goes to. This is the tradition. It is that Rav Gamliel sent Paul. Paul was a student of Rav Gamliel. So they sent Paul to lead the Jews and the Goyim away, to remove them from Israel. It doesn't matter if you're Jew or Greek. It don't matter if you're circumcised or not circumcised. It don't matter if you're this or you're that. It don't matter. Do what you want to do. That's Pauline Christianity. Right? There's Christianity and then there's Pauline Christianity. Okay? God directed this. And he used Rav Gamliel to do it. Their intent was that they should mimic the Jews. These are the first Messianics, let's call it. It's called Yehuda Ezariah. It means to Judaize. They're trying to Judaize themselves. Hashem's intent was as explained. regarding this matter, the Torah says, you thought to do evil to me, and God sought the good. The Holy One traps the wise ones with their own cunning and action. Not to mimic it. And he is directing the whole thing. So his chosen people would be pure flour without any waste material. The matter that Ishmael, Muslims, Rob Volley's he's talking about Esau. The only way you can talk about Esau is you got to come over here and talk about Ishmael, the Muslims. Okay? Right arm, left arm. Right side, left side. Jacob's in the center, right? Ishmael's over here with Abraham. Esau's over here with Isaac. Jacob's in the center. The matter that Ishmael worshippers are on the 6th day, and Esau, Christians, worship on the 1st day. Because the Holy One wanted all of those of the nations of the world that would one day be the week of Tikkun. They would have to be within the week of Tikkun. Because you have to understand, without the Jewish people, the only reason we have a 7-day work week is because of the Jews. Everybody else would go to moon to moon. Moon to moon. The lunar calendar. There was the lunar calendar and the sun calendar, this and that and the other. But then there was the 7-day calendar, and the reason the entire world works off a 7-day calendar, whether you're Jewish or not, is so everybody can be a part of the Tikkun for Israel. All right? It's all about Tikkun for Israel. And Israel is sucking the holy sparks out of the nations. They're doing Bieber, which is called extraction. This is why the Ishmael has circumcision. So their day is 6, Yesod. Where the first day, or the day of the Sunday, is Esau. But it is connected to the 7th. So, the Holy One wanted all nations to be a part of Tikkun. Only through Israel is a 7-day week known. Therefore, they have no concept of four-dimensionality, spirituality, which is called Shabbat. Shabbat is a day in the world to come. Shabbat doesn't exist here. But the only way that they can be connected to Shabbat is if one of them keeps the day before and one of them keeps the day after. If they did it on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, it would not be connected to Shabbat. You understand? It would not be connected to the day. Because they are only physicality. They are only 3D. They have no spirituality connection. Everybody has a day, and everybody gets a day. Therefore, they have their language to understand their day of worship. God gave them this, literally. So that's their day of rest. It's not Shabbat, but it's their day that they do nothing, basically, right? Therefore, the Jews are in the middle of Friday to Sunday. Likewise, they rest too. The left side rests, the right side rests. The Jew is resting on his day in the center. Ishmael grabs the right side of the Jew through Abraham, and Esau grabs the left side of the Jew through Isaac. Thus, they rest a bit on the 6th day on the right, which is Ishmael, and they rest a bit, which is the left side of Israel, on Esau from Shabbat. They're both connected. If I'm Shabbat, and I got your hand here, you can't see me here, but I got your hand here and your hand there, y'all are connected to me. Coming into Shabbat and leaving Shabbat, which is Ishmael and Esau. Because Shabbat is the king, and the king is in the middle. And his arms and his armed forces are on the side of him. There is a saying in Hebrew when speaking of Yeshu HaNosri, let his name and memory be erased. The spelling is Yamak, Shemo, Vezikro. Vezikro. These letters spell Yeshu. So just like Nakash, which is translated as serpent, is Novlot Hokmah Shelma, distilled supernal wisdom, the word Yeshu is an Iker term, just like all the other Torah terms are Iker terms. An Iker term means it doesn't stand on its own. An Iker term means it's a 3 or 4 way part. There's words that make up that term. If you take the first letter of each word, it makes up the name. Therefore, Yeshu's name is made out of this term. And I put it on the board up here for y'all to write down in your notes. Yemak, if y'all want to write it at home, it's Y-E-M-A-C-H, new word, S-H apostrophe M-O, new word, V-E apostrophe Z-I-C-R-O. This means, in Hebrew, let his name and memory be erased. Now, why his name and memory? The kasha is, why not erase him? Why just his name and his memory? Because if you're a Christian and you leave Christianity and you convert to Judaism, you've become ger. And when you become ger, you lose his name. You don't use his name in prayer anymore. And all the stuff he did, has nothing to do with anything. His memory, all the memory of it. But it's still him. You don't lose the fact of him. That is because there is good in him. And this good is the secret of Esau that removes the klipa from Jacob. And there is also it's also the secret of Ishmael, who removes the klipa as well. Because both Esau and Ishmael will return to Kedusha. Ishmael and Esau will return to Kedusha and be rectified through many Gilgalim. Everybody knows what Gilgalim is. Gilgal, transmigration of the souls. You have 5 levels of soul. You die, your soul goes into 5 parts, and this goes into 5, and this goes into 5. And so every soul is transmigrating. There's always the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation. There's the soul of this in every generation. There's the soul of that, of Elijah in every generation. There's the soul of this and of Adam, blah, blah, blah. Right? We've seen it all throughout Torah. Guess what? On the front side, so too on the back side. Because the souls of Yeshu, Fractal, and Gilgal into every generation, as well as Muhammad into every generation, the spiritual leaders of the generation of the nations are actual fractal souls of these people. Therefore, there is a constant iteration of deception and propagating their propaganda. I can't. Joel Osteen is a prime example. I'm sure he is a complete soul Gilgal of Yeshu HaNotri. The Torah says the more things change. No, I don't think the Torah says this. I just wrote this parenthetically. The more things change, the more things stay the same. This is a note. There is the ossuary of Yeshu, which I have seen in the Jerusalem Museum in Israel, where the words Yeshua and Yeshu are both used on the box. And it is not made up by the rabbis. This is a big thing that the Messianics say, oh, well, his name is Yeshu or Yeshua. One says one says the other, you know. And they say all that the rabbis made all that up for purposes of what I'm explaining right here, so that they have a leg to stand on. But the fact of it is, in the box, I even got a picture of his ankle bone I'll put up here for you. So it's not made up. There is aspects when they call him Yeshu and when they call him Yeshua. Because it is a coordinate on the back side. It's not a name. It's an Iker. This is the secret of Nefesh Hager. How about that? It's the secret of Nefesh Hager. Because there is good in them. And the good is not erased, only their name and memory. So what happens when somebody converts fully? What do? They change their
name.
See? They don't change them, they change their name. And they don't remember they're not supposed to remember their former self. You see? Mm-hmm. It's the secret of Nefesh Hager. They are not called by that name anymore. Therefore, in the future, they will not call the name Peter, Mark, John, Paul. Rather, they will call to him a new name, in a name of Israel. Just like
Netanyahu and
everything's going to invert. All the names will be done away with. All that goyish pagan stuff will be changed. This process is in the verse that God will save both man and beast. Because man is Shem Ma, the light of Ma. Mm-hmm. And Ben is beast, Behemoth, 52, Shem Ben. He and his name, Israel and the nations. Hashem has mercy on all his creations. How deep is the thought to bring salvation to the ends of the world, to all the nations, and they will worship him, even all the Goyim. I've said it before. The klipa precedes the fruit. The whole Goyim world has to hear about salvation and use the name and Messiah and all that before the real one comes. And it's going to be a painful inversion, but that's just what the tearing the skin does. It's not pleasant. Avoda, as in avoda zara, avoda is service. Therefore, Esau serves at least one Jew, who is Jesus. And the sod of, he will serve his brother. The older will serve the younger. Therefore, the service of Esau will be to at least one Jew to draw down the Shefa from Kedusha. Now, every Christian of the world may be an anti-Semite, and most of them are, and I can argue with a Christian long enough to make them to get the anti-Semite out of them. I'm real good at it.
You bring it out.
But they're gonna love Jesus till the end, who is a Jew. So you see this. You see what God did there. They will give service to one Jew and draw Shefa from Kedusha, because they, like him, is the Nakash. And the Nakash attaches itself to the host. Who is the host? Jesus. Just like the Nakash attached himself to Eve and Adam, so too the nations attach themselves to Jesus. They won't let go. They won't let go of Jesus. The Messianics, they'll go Torah all day, but they won't let go of Jesus. Why? They have to serve a Jew. Their Shorsh Neshama won't let them. Arguing with them is like, you might as well beat your head on that wall. It's a soul root thing. And the Jew and his God forces me to reform so that I reject them and him. Yet God forces the issue on them without them even knowing it. Brilliant. It's so clandestine. Islam means to subjugate, or it's a slavery religion. You must submit or subjugate yourself to Allah. Yet Esau subjugates himself to Yeshu, to a Jew, and makes the brother to serve the other. And they feed off of it. And it is this that keeps them alive. The virus has nothing of its own. And it was orchestrated to this mamzer that the impurity of the mixture and the union, because he practices witchcraft and magic that he learned in Egypt when his family went there. Because what do they do in Egypt? Witchcraft and magic. And he seduced all, and he did evil so that he could be the coordinate for Christianity to cling to. This is orchestrated by God. And when the host cuts off the virus will turn against it. So as soon as everything is removed, the nations are going to turn against Israel. It's called Gog and Magog. As soon as he cuts off the Shefa from Allah, they're getting their Shefa from that way, and the nation, everybody's sucking off the Jew. That's why this first day and the sixth day of their own rest day, everything is drawing off the Jew. He was directed to create the issue in his life and used the seduction throughout his time and the world's history so that it would happen through him. In Bava Batra 75a in the Talmud, it follows one of the most hugest ger pieces in the world, where it says, I will walk in the noga of your shining. They speak of this term Kadkod stone. We've discussed this term in here before. Some say it's a shohan. Some say it's an onyx. Some say it's a jasper. Some say it's a sapphire. Well, some say it's quartz. Well, we're building a superconscious position of a part sufim of a sphera, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Rabbi Yochanan was teaching that the angels are that the gates of the new temple, of the new Jerusalem, the angels are cutting it, and it's going to be 30 amma high or 60 amma high and 30 amma wide. It's Agadah, right? It doesn't sound real normal. It's Agadah. And that they're cutting this out of a Kadkod stone. Of course, you read it in the Talmud, you're like, well, apparently nobody knows what Kadkod stone is. Apparently, why are the angels doing this? It just doesn't, it's Agadata. So one of the students goes, I call BS on that. Just like Yeshu. So they bring this as a proof text to don't be like Yeshu, like this guy was. So this student gets on a ship, and he's out, and he has a dream, and in this dream, the angels appear to him, and what do they think they're doing? They're cutting the door out of Codcoat stone. And he was amazed, and he went back to Rabbi Yochanan, and he said, Rabbi Yochanan, teach, for you are right. And Rabbi Yochanan looked at him with his eyes, and he turned into bones instantly. Because he mocked the Agadah. So what does Yeshu teach? Everything about mocked Agadah. What will every Messianic, what will every Christian say? Oh, the Talmud is made by men. Right? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just men. Not to mention Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and right? Mm-hmm. And whoever wrote Acts, and whoever wrote whatever, and whoever wrote Hebrews, and but they will always mock the Agadah. Why? Because the head of their klipa does, that they're attached to. All right? You'll see it every time. So, because they have no 4D. They have no spiritual mind. Everything is physicality. Everything. And I have already explained that this mamzer was fitting to be Messiah ben Joseph. Messiah ben Yosef. Because this is well known. Yeshu was to be a Messiah ben Yosef. If you have a mamzer who is a Talmud Chacham, it is well known that this mamzer who is a Talmud Chacham precedes even a Kohen that is an ignoramus. If you're a Talmud Chacham and the guy sitting next to you is not a Talmud Chacham, he is an ignoramus. It doesn't matter if he's a Kohen. It doesn't matter if you're a mamzer, a bastard. That's how powerful knowing Talmud is. The Talmud Chacham, however, is going off of spiritual law, not the letter of the law. And was on the level that you thought he was. Yeshu was on the level you think he was. Okay? I'm sorry, he was not on the level you think he was. I'm sorry. He was a Pashtan. A Pashtan means they only learn according to Peshat. Okay? If you're learning, anybody that argues with me, if the first thing they say is Rambam says, I already know you're a base Peshat person. There's no even sense of me talking to you. Because Rambam is cut and paste. Where did Rambam get that from? Take me to the Sugya where Rambam's talking about that, where whoever's talking about that, and let's learn the Sugya, and then we can go back over here, and now you know what Rambam's saying. Mm-hmm. Don't just tell me, well, you posking by Rambam. I don't care. Where did he get it from? You are a Pashtan, a Peshat person. Cause if he is also guilty of the real sin, because at this point you are guilty of the real sin of mocking the Agadah. Take me to the Agadah and tell me what it says about Ger Toshav and the Agadah. Please do that. Because if only you know the Sod, that's the only way you know. This is Rob Bali's words. These are not my words. This is the only way you know. The Mamzerim was very clever. And he was very smart. Because it was in the heart and passion that he was conceived in. He was conceived in an adulterous relationship. That's highly guverot. It's a lot of passion. And when you're conceived in a lot of passion, you come out with a lot of passion. Guverot feeds guverot. Even this Yeshu, who was a mamzer, never got married. And in Deuteronomy, why was he fitting to be a Messiah but failed? in Deuteronomy, remember in Deuteronomy it says, if y'all don't keep this, if y'all don't keep that, if y'all don't do this, I will send you no Yeshu. And the Messianics just go, oh, there's Yeshu right there. See, when you're not doing Torah, Yeshu, you get Yeshu. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, of course he's right. It's right there. Right? Because you have lost the memory and name of God, and you've traded because you quit doing the mitzvahs. When you quit doing the mitzvahs, you're going to get the Yeshu's going to get there. All right? Every single time. This is a formula since the beginning of time. And I'm going to prove it here in a minute. But he was a failed Messiah. Why? Because he brought evil on himself. Why? Because what was happening at the time of the destruction of the second temple? Why? And we studied this. Why was the second temple destroyed? Baseless hatred. Baseless hatred. Because at the time baseless hatred was going on, and he was the leader of baseless hatred. This is the story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Remember? And finally, 40 years after he was dead, the temple fell. And the Messiah ben Yosef inverted. Because the word mamzer is the word mamzar, which means, in Hebrew, inverted alien. Alien worship. Inverted alien worship. A mamzer, that's why he had to be a mamzer. Because mamzer is an Iker term again. And it means mamzar, which means inverted alien. It also means forging a blemish. And he self-destructed and fell from the holy Yesod, listen to this, to the Yesod of the Klippa. Yeshu HaNotri is the Yesod of the Klippa. He is the Yesod of the backside. He fell from Mashiach to Nakash. He is not a false Messiah ben Joseph. He is a failed Messiah ben Joseph. And so, somebody, would you look up Jeremiah 12, where it talks about piercing, Sukkah 52. And they looked upon him who was pierced. And they looked upon him who was pierced. Back to our Talmud again. Sukkah 52 if you have it. 12, I'm sorry, Zechariah 12:10. I'm sorry, Zechariah 12:10. Mm-hmm. Or 12:12.
John 19:37 too.
And then John 19:37 too. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
We don't have that one.
Okay, Teresa,
I'm not gonna find that.
You want to read that out of the verse there?
I gotta find Zechariah.
Every Christian knows this.
Zechariah 12.
Yes, Zechariah 12.
What verse?
12:12, somewhere around there.
12.
Yeah.
The land would
12:10.
mourn each of the families by itself, the family of the house of David by itself, and the wives by themselves.
No, the one that look upon him who was pierced.
Okay.
You see it?
Jesus was a master.
This is Zechariah 12. It's Zechariah somewhere. Yeah. Zechariah 12:10. I will pour out upon the house of David, upon the house of Jerusalem, my spirit of grace, and supplication, and they will look toward me of those whom they have stabbed or pierced. It will say pierced in the New King James, but the word is stabbed. It's actually drakar, okay? Dakar, which means to stab or sheck in the throat. But but when you're on that side, when you're on the back side, you're going to see Jesus as Messiah ben Joseph, aren't you not? Let's look at what the Talmud says. One surface, two sides. Messiah ben Joseph.
Get it what it's doing now.
Messiah ben Joseph is if you're looking this way, but if you're looking over here, the Gemara. This is where Messiah ben Joseph is. It comes in. This is discussing this very piece of Torah. The Gemara questions the second view. It is understandable according to the one that said the eulogy will be for the Messiah descending from Joseph, who would have been killed. Boy, does that not fit Jesus to the T? Because Joseph was his dad, if you believe their story, right? Mm-hmm. And that is why the mourning will be so bitter, because they will look toward me, the one they have stabbed, and they will mourn over me as one mourns over his only child. And every Christian will do this. But according to the one that said the eulogy will be for the evil inclination, because Messiah ben Joseph is the evil inclination. They just don't know that. Who will have been killed? Does this warrant a eulogy? On the contrary, it warrants a celebration. We're killing the evil. What does Jesus do? He removes the evil from the Jews. And so the non-Jews see him as the Messiah. He is. He's saving the Jews, not them. Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda expounded, the Holy One, blessed be He, will bring the evil inclination and slaughter it in the presence of the righteous and in the presence of the wicked. To the righteous, the evil inclination will appear like a high mountain that can hardly be scaled, and to the wicked, it will appear like a strand of hair that's easily snapped. These will weep, and these too will weep, and the righteous will weep and say, how are we able to overcome such a high mountain? And the wicked will weep and say, how are we not able to overcome such a strand of hair? And so too the Holy One, blessed be He, will wonder with them. So, do they think that's Jesus stabbed? You bet your bottom dollar. Is it the killing of the evil inclination? Absolutely. Now, this is the matter regarding the notary and Muhammad, that they transmigrate in order to build the construct of the impure in every generation. Know that the secret of the matter is this: Hashem is building the construct of evil of completeness through its 10 sphirot, and the 10 and that 10 has 10 that equals 100. So in every generation there's 10 sphirot, and then that 10 sphirot has 10 sphirot as is known. So then there's going to be 100 of them. Even through their extensive even though through their extension, and it is extended from heaven, as in the case of these two, that the north and the south poles, these are the north and south poles, the Hasidim and Guvarot, these two guys, they are the Sitra Achra and its completion. They are what the Sitra Achra looks like in 3D. This is the secret of these evil ones that are buried, that came and transmigrate in every generation, that come and complete their impurity and their building. That all the while, the Holy One supports their sheker, their falseness. Here is their ikr, their ichor is the word sheker, falseness. Just like the soul of Moses and all the other leaders that Gilgal in the generations for truth in order to establish truth in Torah, so too do they transmigrate and establish the falseness until the truth will be completely ripened. Then the sheker will be thrown out in an instant. They're the pecan shell. That's all. Every generation is a sheer coma. Both the front side and the back side. A complete iteration. Until the fruit of truth will become ripe and the klipa of lies in a flash will be removed from the earth and it will no longer exist. Now, being that Yeshu and Muhammad are included with all the evil ones that are buried with them, and they come to set up this Gilgal as listed in Ecclesiastes. Anybody? Ecclesiastes 8, 10 through 13. And I saw the wicked buried and the newly come, while those who had done right were gone from the holy place and were forgotten in the city. This too is futility. But he says, but what Ravali says is, don't read the word forgotten. That's a mistranslation. The word is praised. For these men are praised in their cities. They're praised in Rome, and they're praised in Constantinople, which is now Istanbul or Turkey. All right. At the time, 350 years ago, that was the seat of Islam, was Istanbul, Constantinople. Okay, not Mecca, and Mecca is just where they went. 350 years ago, there wasn't a Saudi Arabia. They were riding camels down there literally. So, this is the secret of the Gilgal. Yeshu is praised in Rome and Ishmael in Constantinople. There is a time when the bad man rules over the good man. When Esau and Ishmael will rule over, because this is the fertilizer for the growing of the fruit. This is the major theme in the Leshem. And this is the secret of the Pardes. And the secret of going into the other side and removing the good. This is the secret of entering into the Pardes. That the bad man runs over the good man, rules over the good. This was the secret of why it looks like Noah failed. And this is the secret why it looks like Adam failed. And this is the secret why it looks like Nadav and Avihu failed. And this is the secret of why it looks like Solomon failed. Because they went into the other side and pulled out the Kedusha. The word Naval in Hebrew means vile or villain. Naval. This was the name of the husband of Abigail. He was a bad guy. And David with his men were coming through, and he refused to help them. But she sent out provisions for David. Later in the story, this Naval dies, and David marries Abigail. The word Navel, there's the word Navel and the word Nevel, same root. Also means heart. And the word Nevela is a carcass or corpse that dies on its own. There's also the word called Novel that means to wilt or wither, which means that it iterates down from Hashem. This is the secret of his Torah. This word, navel, nevel, nevela, and novel is the same root as this word right here, novelot. Means distilled. Supernal wisdom. Nakash. So you see where we're going. We're going toward Nakash, part of the Iker term, the serpent. Novel, this is regarding the Goyim. The Goyim believe in their own religion. And there's those Goyim that don't believe in their own religion. These are called Christians and atheists. Sorry. This is called, the word is Eved Novel. A Eved is a servant or slave. And a Novel is a disgusting person, which he's labeling Christians and atheists. The Holy One desires, listen to this, that there should be religions in the world, even if it's sheker. God wants them to have these religions because it's better than nothing. And he doesn't want the klipa touching the holy, so he throws the dog a bone. Everyone will worship divinity, some form. Because if it were not for the fact, they would have no fear of man or his neighbor. Then there would be chaos. At least Christians have a moral code of don't steal, don't murder, and etc., etc. If there was no such thing as a belief in a God, if your neighbor pissed you off, you just run over and shoot him. You know? That'd be the last time that ever happened. You know, he won't make me mad again. But because everybody has a religion, and those religions come with morals, a moral code. This is why God allows the nations to have their religions. So that a man, because the Torah says, a man will devour his neighbor. However, know that there are levels of impurity. There is an upper and a lower. There are two kinds of impurity. One who has rooted in the Eved, the servant or slave, that keeps his religion, and they come from the upper root of impurity. They are a little closer to divinity. They are the upper root of the klipa, and he surrenders to the God of that religion and comes close to him. However, the one that comes from the Nevel is far from divinity. He rebukes it, reputes it, and he rejects all of it. This is the atheist. And they do not even believe in their own religion that they should believe in. Over here, right? This is the secret, this is the sod of what Neville said. In their heart, there is no God. If you look at Psalms 14:1 and Psalms 53:1, David writes, a fool says in his heart there is no God. That word is not fool, that word is Neville. Okay? And that would be a very disgusting person. Let's put it that way. A disgusting person says in his heart there is no God. A little bit longer here and we'll be done. Therefore, this is why each root is pulling them. This is the work of the Sitra Achra. And it is a wonderment kasha that the Sitra Achra would even want atheism. Because the allure is coming from the spirit of the Neville in them, as Psalms 14:1 says. And this is the secret of the matter in the verse, that the Goyim fight among themselves, and both are sheker. The Christians will sit over here and fight with the atheists, fight like hell with the atheists, and the atheists will sit over here and fight like hell with the Christians, and they're both wrong. They're both sheker. They're both false. Mm-hmm. You see? God allows them to do that, so they leave Torah alone. Once again. Mm-hmm. They fight among themselves about their own religion that is false.
Trying to prove each other
prove each other wrong, and they're both wrong.
In the same religion.
At the same religion. Yes. This is the meaning of when Jethro said to Moses, if you don't get some other people under you, you are going to Neville. You're going to wither away. You're going to wear out. Okay? Because their soul has withered. Why do you have two false groups on the side of the Klippa? Because this is the collective soul of the Klippa. This is the Shorsh Neshama of the Eved Novel. These people will break the yoke off their neck. We are not doing the mitzvahs. We are not under the yoke. They will break the yoke off their neck and will waller around in their waist like a pig, and it makes them feel good. Why did he use, this is a Torah, a pig. He used pig for a reason. Mm-hmm. They will waller around in their waist like a pig, and that makes them feel good. Because one thing is compared to another. Mm-hmm. As a pig wallers in his own waist. Yeah. So too, the nations waller in theirs.
But that waist is idolatry.
Yeah, and well, the waist is Yeshu. The backside. I mean, it's the waist, right? This is the spirit of the collective because they are connected to the pig. Both atheists and Christians will eat the hell out of pork. They're both connected to the pig. They both waller in their own waist. The enlightened, listen what he says here. The enlightened one will understand the numerous secrets of the wisdom of this principle in the world, in Torah, and in Kabbalah. That's a huge statement. Thus it says in Parsha Emor, if you want to go to Leviticus 24 and chapter 10 real quick, we're almost done. Yeah, we're almost done. I hate to stop here. We're on a roll. We're like butter. We're on a roll. This is where all the Jesus comes from, right here. And the son of the Israelite woman went out. The son of the Israelite woman pronounced the name and blasphemed. So they brought him to Moses. This is the son of the Israelite woman. Okay? Who is Jesus? He's the son of the Israelite woman. Verse 14, remove the blasphemer from outside the camp. Remove the blasphemer. What was he doing? Coming against the Agadah. Who is his daddy? Egyptians. The Egyptian Moses killed. Okay? The kasha is, what does it mean went out? The son of the Israelite woman went out. Went out of what? Went out of style? So it's a huge kasha. He went out. Jesus went out. It's the same story. Got to just bring it over here. Some say he went out from the previous Parsha. It's one view. Mm-hmm. Some say he went out and lost his portion in the world to come. Mm-hmm. We know that's about Yeshu. Some say he went outside the camp. Some say he went out before the judgment of Moshe and the Torah. All the things that Jesus promotes. So if you read the 24 before that, read 25, you will see, you shall take fine flour and bake it into loaves, and you shall do this and do that. They're making the showbread. They're fixing to put showbread, and verse 8, and each and every Shabbat, you should arrange this. So what does this kid do? He's talking about Shabbat. He's talking about the showbread. Right? And what does Christians do? They're going to come up against Shabbat. You don't need to do Shabbat. So here it is. He mocked the words of the rabbis, or the teachers, the Levites of the day, of why the bread stayed fresh all week. He mocked them, blaspheme. It's a word for mock. Is this the way you treat your Father in heaven? He said. Is this the customs of because it's the custom of the king to eat warm bread. You're making bread the first of the week and he's eating it on Shabbat. Of course, though bread did stay warm all week, he just didn't know. Stayed fresh all week. Rashi says, he went out from the previous paragraph because he mocked it, because he is a mamzer. And a mamzers always have father issues. That's why he's talking about, does your father treat you that way? What does Jesus say? The only way to the Father is through the Son. Always father issues. A mamzer will always have them. Proverbs 30 and 22. And we'll end right there. Proverbs 30 and 22. At 30:22 says, because a slave who reigns, because of a scoundrel who is sated with bread. This is the Eved novel, the Christian and the atheist. They're all going to run this exact same program. With Shabbat, with the bread, all about the Father. The Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven. You see what I'm saying? Torah never talks like that. Only a mamzer does. Only a bastard does. And the Torah is amazing, and the sages are amazing. And I'll see you next week for Daniel.